Welcome to One Tree Hill in Braidwood, about an hour outside Canberra. Let me show you around my house and explain to you why I made some of the decisions I did in building this house. My aim was to create a passive solar build that worked with the landscape and the environment to minimise my footprint on the landscape and the environment, to create as much of my own energy and water as I could and minimise my energy and water bills as much as I could. The house was designed using livability principles, so all the hallways are wide enough for wheelchairs, all the doors are cavity sliders, the house is all built on one level, very easy to get around in, to cater for ageing or disability in the house. I specifically chose the block that I did because it is a long block with a long north boundary. The neighbours to the north of me have already built, so I know their house won't shade me out, neither will their planting. The long north side of the house is almost entirely glass, with large sliding doors to the lounge, dining and main bedroom area. All of the windows to the south, east and west are small to limit the amount of heat loss from those rooms. The house has also been zoned, so I can close off certain areas if I don't want to heat them. That also minimises the energy costs. The original plan for the house came from the Commonwealth Government's Your Home website, which is an amazing resource if you are looking to build a passive solar house. I took that design and had it altered by Alison Piper from Our Margie Designs. I didn't have to alter it a lot, but I did want to tweak a few little things on it, so I had her do that for me. She also managed the approval process going through local council for me, which was amazing. I would highly recommend that if you have an architect or a draftsperson who knows your local council and they can do all the paperwork, let them do it. I knew I didn't know what I was doing and I knew Alison did, and everything went very smoothly. Prior to the stage of building, I did a couple of years of research and homework into this sort of a build. I attended workshops and tutorials, I talked with suppliers, I met with builders, I subscribed to Renew magazine. I hadn't built before and I knew I was taking a leap of faith with whoever I used to help me with the build, so I knew I had to be as prepared as I could be. I wanted to use a local builder who used local tradespeople. My thinking was that the local builder would be more invested in the process and would be around if I needed anything fixed after the house was built or if I needed anything altered. I met with a few builders in the local area and decided to go with Green Homes South East New South Wales. Their builders and their tradies lived locally, which turned out to be a really good thing when COVID hit and everything shut down. And they were used to dealing with our local council. The design was complicated by the fact that Braidwood also has additional council and state heritage restrictions. Knowing this beforehand, though, I met with the heritage officer prior to the plans being submitted, so I knew that there were certain things that I had to do in order to have the plans passed. Wouldn't have known that had I not met with them. That turned out to be a really good move and one that most people don't take, because when the plans got to council, apart from a couple of small things, they went straight through. Being a passive solar build, I was quoted initially 6 to 8 months for the build to happen. We started the house in March 2020, hello COVID, and that was it could have been an issue, and it was an anxiety that I had, knowing that everything was happening at the same time COVID was happening and we didn't know how it would go. But one of the benefits of engaging local builders was that all their tradies were local. So when things closed down, when states shut down, we kept building. We did anticipate there being some issues with getting some of the materials to site. The cladding, for instance, the timber cladding for the house came from the south coast, but we were lucky with no hold-ups, and the build in the end only took 5 months. Okay, water is a big issue in this area. It is a country town. We are on town water, but we're also in a bushfire zone. And water, as we know, is not a limitless resource. I decided on an electric heat pump for hot water. It's on a timer and it only reheats during the times when the solar system on the roof is pulling solar power. So in effect, it's basically a solar hot water system. We are on town water, but the local council mandate that new houses must have water tanks. So I've opted for a 22,500 litre tank, which is quite big. We do have a lot of roof space, which is good. That tank feeds the toilets, the washing machine, and the drip irrigation system to the vegetable garden. I do use very little water, but like I said, we're in a bushfire zone and having a lot of water on standby is quite comforting. I've also installed a grey water system. It's a Grey Flow Pro grey water system, which takes water from the washing machine and the bathrooms, excluding the toilets, and takes it via the drip irrigation system to the garden. It's an untreated automatic system and it flushes through every 24 hours. Okay, insulation. Braidwood gets very cold in winter and very hot in summer. So I knew I had to use a lot of good insulation. And that started with the slab. So the house sits on a polished concrete slab, which contains waffle pod. The waffle pod is made from polystyrene and results in the use of less concrete, which is a good thing. Allows the slab to sit on the ground. It doesn't need to be excavated into the ground. And it contains a lot of air pockets in the pods formed by the insulating layer between the house and the ground. The external walls and the internal wall from the garage and the ceiling are heavily insulated, as you can see from the picture here. Also, one of the things I liked about green homes was that as a standard, they do a lot of gap sealing. So all the gaps in the house where different surfaces meet are all sealed to prevent air leakage and drafts. The aim of the polished concrete slab was to allow the slab to heat up during the day when the sun hits it and release the heat at night. We get a lot of sunny days in winter. It can be very cold outside, like it is today, but the sun's streaming into the house and that will heat the house up, and that heat will stay in the house and be slowly released at night. So even on cold days, it's toasty in the house. There are eaves on the house that prevent the sun hitting the slab in summer. So it doesn't, the sun doesn't hit the glass doesn't heat up, doesn't get into the house. So it's quite a cool house in summer as well. The decision around the cladding was really aesthetic. I knew that a brick house was going to heat up a lot more and hold the heat, but I really like the look of the timber. The timber cladding doesn't hold the heat, but the expanse of north-facing windows compensates for that. The house has a 6,500 kilowatt solar array with micro inverters. It's connected to a phone app, which allows me to track solar production of each panel and my electricity use. I produce way more power than I use, so the excess is sold back to the grid, which is increasingly becoming not so worth it, but it works for now. I chose not to go with batteries at the moment. My solar guy advised that they are coming down in price and getting better in quality. So we're holding off for now, but the intent is that when batteries are a good option, I will have batteries connected. I'll still stay attached to the grid, but I would be able to use all my own power. I do have blinds on the external windows to the east and the west, and these big windows you can see here are north facing. These particular blinds allow me to see out, but no one sees in. They allow light to penetrate, but they prevent the sun coming in. So the sun's not coming in and heating up the glass, so the room stays cooler. The inside windows, I've got a mix of Roman blinds, honeycombs and cellular blinds. The Roman blinds cover the north-facing windows as they're not required to block out sun. They also have their own built-in pelmet, which is great. They sit close to the glass and they aid in the prevention of heat loss. Honeycombs and the cellular blinds are fitted to the frames of the glass as well. They sit very close to the glass, and again, they aid the prevention of heat loss. There is a lot of glass in this house. There were some things when I was building this house I really wanted and I was not prepared to compromise on. And one of those things was the windows. I knew I would be paying top dollar for the windows, but I was prepared to, because to compromise on the windows would have compromised on the passive solenness of the house. All of the windows and the glass doors, these big glass doors that you can see here, which is almost a wall of glass, are double glazed, argon filled with a 16mm gap and UPVC frames. And I love them to bits. Most of the windows are tilt and turn windows, although some of the awnings where the plans dictated that they be. The tilt and turn mechanism means that windows can be left safely open in the tilt position at night. And when they're in the turn position, the windows open to scoop the cool air into the building or create the cross breezes necessary to cool the house at night. Sliding doors are very wide, as you can see. One double door there is 3.5 metres. And they're a lift and slide design, which allow the door to drop into their tracks to seal nice and tightly. They're quite heavy, but luckily they glide quite easily. And again, they work really well. I took a bit of a gamble when we built the house, and I didn't put any heating in the house other than the wood fire that you can see. If the house was going to perform as it should, there would have been little need for the heater. So we thought, I'll give it 12 months in the house with no heater and see if that works. I'll live through a whole cycle of all the seasons and see how we go before I make any other decisions. I've been here for 12 months now, or nearly 12, and for the most part, the house performs brilliantly. The only time I find I need the wood burner are on the days when we have consecutive days of cloud. Like I said, even when it's cold outside, as long as the sun's coming in the windows, the house is lovely and warm. So a few days of no sun without that house and the slab heating up, it still doesn't get cold, but it gets chilly enough to need the heater on. What I think I'll do though next season is put in a reverse cycle heat pump just in the living area. For those times when I need some heat in the house, but maybe I'm popping in and out and I don't want to put the wood burner on. Wood burner does also take about an hour to heat up. So if I have that reverse cycle heat pump just to give me a little bit of heat when I'm in and out of the house, I think that'll work really well. Due to the sun not entering the house in summer, the only source of cooling we've got is ceiling fans in all the bedrooms and in the living area. I have lived through a summer in the house and that was definitely all I needed. The house doesn't heat up too much during the day. It doesn't heat up much at all. And as soon as evening comes around, with those ceiling fans and opening the house to cross breezes, it cools down really quickly. Braidwood does not have piped gas, so I did not choose to put the house on bottled gas. I've just gone for electricity. This way I could source it from the sun and be relatively self-sufficient when it comes to electricity. And so far this plan has worked. I've only had one electricity bill up until now, and it cost me $8. I think there will be a bit of a bill over winter because we do get a few overcast days, and obviously I'm not pulling a lot of solar during those days. Water consumption is another area that seems to be working. Water in town here is quite expensive, and I'm spending at the moment approximately $25 a quarter on water, which is great. The tables I've put on the slide here give you an indication of solar energy production and use in February and in June. So even in winter, I'm producing way more power than I need and only buying power in at night. So the finished product is something I'm so happy with. I absolutely love it. I would not change a thing except the addition of that heater, which I knew could be an option when I built the house. But everything else, I absolutely love it. It's working very well. When it comes to passive solar, it is definitely passive and solar. A careful choice of design and build partners was so important, and they've delivered a house and a home that works really well. It sits comfortably in the environment, provides me and my family with so much joy. Absolutely love living here. So please, if you're in the area on Sustainable House Day, pop in and see it for yourself. I'd love to show you around. I'd like to answer any questions you have. I'd like to show it off.